So, with radio via satellite. So, I think just keep it informal and just ask as we go through. Ask. We can have obviously general questions at the end, but you know there'll be sort of questions arising. Just ask, and we'll keep it informal. So, so where do we start? Right. So. There's different categories. The most common one, the most common ones that, and let me say, I'm quite new to satellites. Okay, so it's been a couple of months. I've learned quite a lot. And then obviously, like everything else in radio, you just go on learning forever. But this is what I know so far. Most of the satellites that hams use are LEO, low Earth orbit satellites. So they're orbiting at around 200 to 1,000 miles roughly. The low ones, the high ones. Obviously, the higher ones have a bigger footprint. So the lower ones, like the space station, what's that? About 230, 240 miles. Probably a footprint of about, what's the footprint of about 1,000 mile footprint. There's lots of them. Well, there's about 10 or 12 actually. Things like FunCube or AO73. That's a really old one, FunCube. International Space Station. They are either orbiting polar, north, going around like this, or they're going east-west, west-east. The polar ones will go like this. The Earth rotates, so basically every orbit, every 90 minutes, the Earth's rotated a bit. So over time, they're covering the entire Earth's surface. So either polar or they're orbiting east-west. Like the space station is heading to the east. It going around this way, slightly elliptical orbit. But a lot of them are polar. Their period is their orbit. They take about between 90 and 120 minutes to do a complete orbit. Space station's about 90 minutes. So yeah, it's got to come around every 90 minutes or so. The speed they're heading at about 17,000 miles an hour, which keeps them in orbit. That's a reasonable speed. There's also geostationary ones. They're further out, like about 25, 30,000 miles. The one we've talked about a few times, and I've mentioned, Celine's mentioned, is, and I'd quite like to do, but actually I got on the roof of my shack last week and my next door neighbour's house roof is in the way. So, well, it saved me $2,000, didn't it? So, so that one's out. But things like QO100, where they're in orbit, but effectively they're orbiting at the same speed as the Earth's rotation, so they appear to stay in the same place. All right, but QO100 would be a good target for, but unfortunately my neighbour's house. It's quite low. It's about 27 degrees above the horizon. It's way over Q8 or something. It's I think it's a Q. I think it's a Q80 H.A.D.A.R.S satellite. So it's sitting over there. It's got a huge footprint. Covers everything from like South Africa up to Iceland. So it's a huge footprint because it's so far out. But because it's low, it's just next door's house is in the way. So there you go. To move. Satellite types. There's basically two types. There's the FM satellites. They're the easiest to use. The space station. They're like repeaters actually. GB30Y. It's like GB30Y in space. Okay, same concept. And the space station has a repeater on it, and they're similar to terrestrial repeaters like GB30Y and Bucko Steel. The one frequency is up. One frequency up. That can be VHF or UHF. And one frequency is down, VHF, UHF. So unlike repeaters in like GB30Y, which is UHF, slightly different frequency, satellites is VHF one way, UHF the other, okay? VHF one way, UHF the other. Sometimes it's one UHF up, sometimes it's VHF up and the other one down. So everyone, like GB3OY, everyone shares a frequency. Now, I was talking through GB3OY yesterday afternoon, walking through the woods, and a guy called Clive, who was in Regent's Park, said he was thinking of getting into satellites. He said he looks forward to having a nice long chat on a satellite with somebody. I said, well, hang on a minute, it's not like that, right? It's all really, really quick, because you've got everyone sharing. It's not like GB3. There happen to be 3 or 4 of us on, but you know, I pass it to Alan, Alan passes it to Clive, Clive passes it to me. So when the satellite comes over, you've got about 7 minutes, and everyone's trying to get on it at once and shout at each other. And it, you know, there is interference. The QSB is suddenly there's a great signal, and then it goes completely blank. Then there's funny noises, and you've got half a call sign. Then you're trying to get the rest of the call sign. You're shouting, you know, calling him. So you know, everything is really fast. So he said, I'm not going to do satellites. So everyone, like GB3OY, is sharing a frequency, but everyone's calling into that one frequency simultaneously. You could get 10 or 20 people all trying, or 2 or 3, but often, especially at the weekend, there's quite a lot of people trying to get on and shout into it. So FM, these are the FM ones, same as terrestrial repeaters. VHF, UHF, one up, one down. Everyone shares one frequency. Doppler. Doppler, we'll come a bit on to Doppler soon, but Doppler is something that you have to think about with satellites, and we'll come on to that soon. Doppler is worse on UHF. I haven't figured out why, but it is. So VHF is less susceptible.
Can you just explain what Doppler is?
It's a percentage of the frequency.
I think that is probably what it is. It's a percentage of the frequency,
Yeah.
But I haven't bothered to sort of really dig into it. But you know, UHF. So if UHF is worse than VHF.
For those that don't know, Mike, can you just explain what Doppler is for those that aren't aware of it?
Okay, Doppler. Right. Let's. Yeah, I'll come on to that. Okay.
Okay.
Because I think we do talk about Doppler in a minute. Okay. Most of the FM satellites use a 67 hertz tone. Like, you know, you repeat. Not all of them use tones, but most of them have a tone, and most of those are 67 hertz. There's one which is 74.4 or 10. Anyway, most of them have a tone, just like terrestrial repeaters. And they are the easiest to use. They are the easiest to use because you've just got one frequency up, one frequency down. All you've got to worry about is a bit of Doppler. And Doppler's not that complicated, to be honest. Especially if you've got a radio that caters for it, you know, which I'll show you later. Do ask questions. I know I've stopped answering your question on Doppler, but we're going to come on to it in a minute. Do ask. SSB, the other satellites, about half the satellites are single sideband. They have a small frequency band, like a 40-meter band, unlike FM satellites, which is specific. They are frequency up and they are frequency down. SSB satellites have a small band. Some of them are a smaller band, some of them are a bigger band. It's like the 40-meter band. It starts at whatever, 7 and it goes to 7.2, say, right? So the SSB satellites have a small band, so you can actually be sort of you can start anywhere within that band, if you like. And there are people tend to go towards this middle bit and go a bit up or a bit down because you've got Doppler. So if you're too far at one end, you disappear out of it. So you know, people tend to head for the middle and go up or down a bit. But you can hear people calling and you can head for them, unless you just want to do your CQing, in which case head for a bit, plus or minus around the centre, and then, you know, start your calling. But they have a band. So unlike FM satellites, which is one, in the SSB satellites, you know, you've actually got a small band of its own. Okay. LSB is always up. USB is always down. Inverted tuning. So we'll probably come on to this now. But because of Doppler, and probably because of other things, one starts high and one starts low. So for tuning, we'll come on. I'm going to come back to that. In a moment. Okay. In fact, we'll look at an example. It's better to talk over an example. But effectively, if you take the band, take your 7 meter, take your 40 meter band, say it's 7 to 7.2. What you would have, you'd have your receiving starting at 7.0, and your transmission would be at 7.2. And as you turn the knob, what happens is, as you turn up the knob from 7.0, your receiving knob up to 7.1, 7.01, 7.0. As you're tuning it higher, what's happening is the transmission frequency is coming from 7.2
You're
down.
talking about Doppler.
It is to do with Doppler, but the principle of the tuning is that, you know, you'll start opposite ends of the band for transmitting, and as you turn the knob, they actually, and then they cross in the middle, and then they go the other way. Okay, but we'll come back to that in a minute. Satellite rate. Often people do this. Use 2 separate radios. All right. Then you've got to worry about 2 knobs for tuning the Doppler, but it's the cheapest way to do it, especially if you're going out in the field with your aerial, and you've got a knapsack round your neck. And you've got 2 radios in there, your transmission and your receiving. So you've got 2 knobs to worry about, and
You've got to be really keen.
you've got to be really keen. I tried it years ago, and I ended up with neck ache and going to osteopath because sort of, you know, cramp in my neck and shoulder.
Right, you need an assistant to hold
You need an assistant, and then you got to shout, "Well, move the bloody thing," you know. Right, so the SSB satellites, they support multiple users, more than one station basically can get on them. They're harder to use because you haven't got one frequency up and one frequency down, and you only have to worry about the Doppler within the one frequency. Because it's a band, you've got the band to worry about the Doppler, and so it is harder to use, and it's more complicated to use. As before, it's worse on UHF. Okay. Doppler explained, right, okay, so this is what we... Right, so let's take the space station. Its frequencies are, its transmitting frequency, I'm going to ask a question of somebody here, not somebody who knows the answer. Somebody who might know the answer, but if somebody does know absolutely the answer, it'd be better to get somebody, if they want to talk about it, who's not sure about it. But this GB30Y, you know the frequencies of that. I talk about that because I use it, and most of you would know that. But it has a specific frequency for transmission. It has a specific frequency for receiving, and so does the space station, or they all have. So the transmitting frequency is 437.8. The receiving frequency is 145.99. Oh, right? Okay. So what's happening? So my question is, okay, the space station's coming towards you. It's come over the horizon and it's coming towards you. What's going to happen to the radio frequency of its it's transmitting its signals at 437.8. What's going to happen when you receive that frequency? Who would like to sort of say what's going to happen to it? Who's not entirely sure?
Does it not get shorter the way so it's the frequency down, is it?
Which one's going up and which one's going down?
Well, if it's coming towards you.
Yeah, so it's coming towards you. So what happens when a train's coming towards
you? The Doppler effect on the sound, isn't it?
Yeah, what happens to the sound of a train or an ambulance as it's coming towards you?
It gets louder.
It gets louder. Yeah. And the power gets greater, and what happens to the frequency?
It's squashed, doesn't it?
And what happens to it? Higher or lower?
It's getting squashed off.
Goes up. Right. What happens when the ambulance goes past you? What happens to the frequency?
At the moment it passes you, they're both equal, aren't they? And then it changes as it goes away.
To what?
If it's going higher, it goes lower as
it goes lower. So what happens is, as the satellite's coming towards you, the waves are compressed, aren't they? They're compressed toward. So it's like the train, like the ambulance. Although it's audio frequency, this is radio frequency. But the waves are compressed, so the frequency goes up. So, and when it's overhead, it's bang on frequency. So it's going to be at those frequencies when it's not going towards you or away from you, but as it starts departing, it's leaving you. The waves are stretched. Who's heard of the redshift in the universe?
Yep.
The redshift. The further away things are in the universe, the more redshifted they are, and that means they're going far. The further they are away, the faster they're travelling away from us, and that shifts all the normal colours towards the red. So the frequency drops from, say, normal light wavelengths down to infrared. In fact, some of the recent telescopes up there now are designed to not see invisible light, because the stuff at the end of the universe is so low, the frequencies are so low, the visible light's almost none. So they design these things like can't remember the names of these recent telescopes, James Webb. They're designed to see right down towards the infrared. So basically, the frequencies increase when they're coming towards you. They bang on overhead, and as they leave, the frequencies drop. So if we've got a satellite, if we've got here,
that's what that's for.
Satellite. This is a satellite retrieve. This is coming towards you. This is coming towards you. So we've got the satellite frequencies received for it is 145.99. You set your radio to 145.99, but actually what's happening, because the waves from the satellite are being increased, the frequency is being increased, they're arriving at your receiver a bit higher at 146, right? 10k higher, so you don't get it. Okay, the satellite receiving frequency is 145.99. You set your transmitting frequency on your radio to 145.99, but when it arrives at the satellite, it's higher. From the satellite's point of view, the frequency is higher. So it arrives at the satellite at 146, so the satellite doesn't hear you. You're out of it. So what you need to do when it's coming towards you, satellite receiving frequency is 145.99. You transmit at 145.980, which is a bit lower. Your waves are increased, frequencies increased, so it arrives at the satellite at 145.99. So the satellite hears you. Get it? Which is good. So and then the satellite's transmitting as it's coming towards you 437.800. You set your receiver at 437.800, but because the waves are compressed, it arrives at your radio at 437.810. You don't hear it, so that's no good. So 437, if satellite's transmitting at 437.800. You need a helical. You need a helical aerial or a cross dipole, which is able to pick up pretty well, signals coming in any plane. Does that make sense? Or an egg beater, which is what I've got now, which is basically, like an egg whisk. Two like that, two like that. So it doesn't matter which, if the signal's coming in that way, I've got the bottom of the egg whisk, it's coming horizontally, the top of the egg whisk is horizontal. So you need an aerial that can pick up from multiple planes of polarization, otherwise you won't. So you can have a Yagi, and there's different sorts of, you can have a Yagi beam guided array, which will, track satellites. I haven't got that because I've got oak tree and stuff. I'm wearing my aerial tracking the satellite as it goes overhead and bashes into the oak tree. What
you're saying is you really want it.
I might find a way next year perhaps, but as it's tracking around, it's going to probably start mowing down the oak tree, and the oak tree is going to win. So it's going to pull off my elements, screw the motor up, screw the dual rotator up. Or omnidirectional, which is what I've got, which works. It's the egg beater. It's like an egg whisk. It's not as good, but it definitely works. That's what I've got. That's the egg beater. So there's UHF down the far end, and the VHF one is this end. Okay, got that from Martin Lynch. It's really nice actually. It's well made. It's a well made antenna. The reflectors You could sort of tilt it a bit. You know, you could have a rotate. You could do it, but maybe later or maybe something else. But that's the.
What's the rest down there that we can't see? How's it mounted? Where?
Just mounted at the middle point on a pole.
Oh right, okay.
So that is mounted. That mounts on a pole basically. Just screws in.
Metal pole or do you...
Yeah, I attach something to here, so it's mounted on a pole.
Yeah.
So my pole goes this way. It's quite big. I mean, it's
How tall's the pole? Does the pole go up very far or does it stop there? You don't want to...
The pole goes probably 3 foot beyond that.
Okay, 3 foot back. Okay.
So it's down the pole. It's not as far up the pole as I'd like because I thought if I try and stretch too far, I'll fall off my roof. So, sacrifice a bit of a couple of dB from satellite
So it's on
and
the
not
roof,
falling
or
off the roof and killing myself,
So
being on 24 hours in A&E.
Yeah, so it's on the roof or what?
I've got a garden room, which is my shack, and I've got poles mounted on the side, which go above the roof.
I'm just trying to visualise it.
If you look at my QRZ page, you'll see
Oh,
there's a picture of the beautiful aerial farm on my shack.
Is that aerial circular polarised?
Circularly polarised, yes.
Is it left hand or right?
That's a very good question, and I'm not sure, but it's the way it needs to be.
Right hand.
Is it right hand?
Yeah, right hand.
Okay.
And is it 2 separate cables to your radio?
It is 2 separate cables. Yeah, two because it's 2 radios. Effectively, you need 2 radios for SATs, and so there's 2 areas with 2 cables going into one is going into the VHF and one is going to the UHF antenna socket.
Right hand circular polarised.
I think yes, that probably is right, but I'm sure it is right, but I can't remember which. But it's right hand. But I rely on that. You see how you could build. If you're handy, you can build this stuff. But I'm not that handy, and everything I build looks a bit wonky. And I would then wonder how to get it the right polarisation, and then I'd probably get it back to front, and so I
It'd be
bought it.
left hand and you wouldn't get a signal.
Yes. That's a better arrangement. So that's okay. So this is a better system. So this would be you can see a crossed up. It's crossed. So it's multiple plane, and it will be set up probably for right hand polarization, and that will go on a dual rotator. And then you need a controller, and then you need something to point it in the right direction. And it's $2,000 basically. And.
You want it.
Yeah. Pretty standard for this hobby though, isn't it, really?
Presumably
It
these
is
don't
really.
these don't need to be mounted at height.
They don't really. I mean,
No,
obviously.
but I'm just thinking
Yeah.
on one of the H.A.D.A.R.S field events, there's one of the guys there actually sort of has that
On a
set
tripod.
up on, basically on a
You could do.
tripod.
If provided you've got the Sky,
Yeah,
you're absolutely. A lot of people do this portable.
yeah.
And you're absolutely right. They don't need to be high.
Yeah.
But for me, it's a little bit different because I live in Buckerstill. I'm surrounded by a hill. I'm surrounded by trees and houses and all sorts of bloody things. So it's really difficult. So a bit of height would make a bit of difference.
Yeah.
But I wasn't going to go 3 foot higher than I actually went because I thought.
You don't want to land on the ground.
But yes, you could do this on a tripod. So
Yeah,
you could,
I'd say-
you could start this, Malcolm. Good tripod in your back garden. But it can be, you just need to see the sky, really.
So when you make a contact, Mike,
Yeah.
who are you talking to? Is it could it be in the world or because obviously a repeater normally has a certain radius. So if I'm talking on DA, it's going to be people within sort of 30 miles of DA.
Right.
How does it work in terms of who you actually get your contact with?
Right. It depends on the footprint of the satellite. So the higher the satellite, the bigger the footprint. I mean, QO100 is about 30,000 miles out. It covers a third of its footprint is a third of the Earth's surface. So if you can get onto QO100, you can get right down to South Africa, right into India, China even, and all of Europe, everywhere. But say the space station, I'm just trying to think, the space station covers a footprint of about 1,000 miles. So obviously you're going to have stronger signals towards the centre of that footprint. So the maximum is say 1,000 to 12, about 1,000 miles. The space station. It's not high. So anywhere within 1,000 miles. I mean, I've spoken to people in Italy, Germany, Guernsey, Cornwall, Spain, from these. And the higher satellites will have a bigger footprint. So you've got potentially further afield, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, but it is, it is a bit. It's not like normal calls, It's, I mean, so you're calling if you're actually calling CQ sat Mike 0 Alpha X-ray standing by. So quick CQ Mike 0 Alpha X-ray standing by, and you're waiting for somebody. You're waiting to hear your call sign back. If you hear your call sign, it's exciting. Somebody heard me. And then, he gives his call sign and then it goes blank halfway through. So you get the beginning of the call sign. So you could, F5R, F5, repeat your call, F5R, Damien Forrester, got in the other day. First time on satellite, so many QSOs on various things. And he didn't come, that was it. No, I did get him. But then somebody else came on the other day, and I got the beginning of his call sign, and that was the end of it. So annoying. So it's all pretty quick, and that's why it's not like conversations.
I presume logically because of this Doppler effect and the fact that you're not both directly under the satellite. You then got the fact that sort of you're on sort of one end of the frequency. Somebody the other side of the footprint is going to be on totally the opposite frequency.
Well, what you're having to do all the time,
you're having to adjust
all of that.
Yeah.
But what you're doing, what you're trying to do as time's going on, and I'm watching my screen where the satellite is overhead, so I'm just adjusting my frequency knob to try and pull the Doppler a little bit at a time. Sometimes you forget because you're trying and you think, oh no, move Doppler. And then other people probably don't move their Doppler controls the right way. Other people frequencies are off. Often you hear people calling out really, really clearly, and I'm calling his call sign, and I can hear him clearly, and he obviously can't hear me. So I'm thinking, why can't he hear me? And it's probably because his radio's off frequency. He's got his Doppler in the wrong direction. His receiving aerial's not working, but his transmitting aerial is. I think there's all of these things are in it, and but it's magic. If I can get one QSO, I feel like magic. Feels like taking cannabis. Not that I've ever taken. I've never taken cannabis. I've never taken cannabis. The only thing I have is I like a drink.
Can you wipe that bit as well?
I like either a beer or a nice malt whiskey. Okay, no, but but it's really. If I can get one QSO, on a satellite pass, I feel really pleased because when you do it. You get half the call sign, and then you can get half the call sign, and then towards the end of the pass, you hear him again, and you call him, and then he finishes it off. Magic.
What power ERP?
Well, they say you don't need much power, so I don't really know, but I tend to transmit on 40-50 watts. Okay, because I haven't got a beam. If I had a beam, I think it'd be different, but I'm.
You're supposed to be able to do it in milliwatts.
You're supposed to,
yeah.
You're supposed to, but I've tried low power and I can't hear myself sometimes.
No, that's fair enough.
Space station astronauts with a hand.
I've got a friend in Greece. He does it with milliwatts. He's a very keen.
Yeah.
Well, he does all modes,
It
including
absolutely is.
satellite.
QO100.
You can do it many watts.
QO100 is really small power.
I don't think he's got any yards. I think they're all wiring settings he's got, but he's right by the
you need a
beach.
dish. You need a dish, yeah. So that really is that's
Might have a dish.
satellites.
Brilliant. Good. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah, really good. Really interesting.